Alright, video number 2. As I finally get off the freeway here. If I can merge over. I don't like this merge at all that I'm trying to get over. Let's see here. This is not a skill that's developed easily, but yeah, I wanted to mention a band. Okay, there's this band called Late of the Pier. I posted an entry on the blog a couple weeks ago about what's known as Indietronica. Maybe that's a necessary evil. I hate the word indie and indie rock, of course. I'd rather call it college. But maybe what I mentioned in the blog actually is it could just be called electronic rock for the 21st century, for the most part. That emphasizes enough rock where you couldn't call it electronica, but it has enough electronic elements, or at least some elements, and it also has like, what are the other parts of it? I don't know, epic vocal harmonies, or humor, or what am I thinking of? I'm blanking on. Anyway, long explanation, longer. There's a band called Late of the Pier from England that was around. They put out their first album in 2008. Like all these albums seem to come out. A lot of them, the best albums in this genre, came out in 2008 or 2009. In that time, maybe 2007. Anyway, they put out one album and then they put out an EP called Blueberry. I forget what the name of the debut album is off the top of my head, and they're from England. And they broke up, unfortunately. And the drummer passed away a couple years ago. But one of the singer went by another name and started releasing music called La Priest or LA Priest, I'm not sure. He's also got a band, but he put out a debut album in 2015 that I actually wishlisted on Rate Your Music when it was announced or something, but I never heard it. Well, I finally checked it out this past week, and while it's not amazing, it's very funky, but also just a lot of synths and a lot of kind of very lack of, not a lot of guitar actually, but it's hit and miss, but there's a couple really outstanding songs that are very catchy and memorable. One of them I posted on Twitter and a few other places and Facebook called Oh I Know. O-I-N-I-O, I think it is. I just kept on bobbing my head to it and just tapping my hand and feet to it, my toes to it. There's a couple other standouts that I don't have in front of me but I want to buy that thing definitely after checking it out. There was like one or two other bands that came across my radar. One of them is Thundercat. The Thundercat album is getting a lot of buzz. I know it's kind of hipster, but Thundercat did work with Kimbra, and the description is sort of described as sort of funk-tronica. At point, I know Thundercat's very jazzy, but also electronic and almost not danceable, but I don't know. I'm gonna check it out soon, and maybe I'll put something in the blog about it. And then what was the other one that I found out and I checked out? There's a couple albums that are coming out, and I need to do a separate video. I've never done anything about the 2016-2017 year for the most part. Stuff to anticipate. So I don't think I've done that. I need to do a focused video about that at some point, even though we're almost halfway through. I'll do like a quarter season report, because that ends, I think the quarter season ends like the end of this month or early March. And then I'll my top 10 albums or whatever, and then I'll do the anticipation at that point. But anyway, I guess just to add to this is the whole, I mentioned the last video, doing film and television. Yeah, and I need to do one on that. Oh man, I don't have them in front of me, of course. I revisited some scenes from a movie called Never Been Thawed, which I love. One of the funniest movies of the last 10 plus years. Ghost World, my favorite movie of all time, basically, other than The Wizard of Oz, which it's in a separate spot. But Ghost World has a Criterion edition that's coming out, which I, of course, pre-ordered, both on DVD and on Blu-ray. I only ordered the DVD one, but I may just bite the bullet because I collect almost everything I can with Ghost World. But yeah, that's coming out in May, I believe. And of course, Wilson, the Daniel Klaus graphic novel that's adapted for the big screen, that was filmed largely in Minnesota, in my wife's neighborhood, actually, in a lot of other parts of the Twin Cities in 2015. Finally hits theaters in March, but I'm I need to find some information about the exact time it will come to Minnesota. The release date is right around the 3rd or 4th week of March. 24th, maybe, I can't remember. 24th is my wife and I's first date quasi-anniversary plus our 6-month wedding anniversary, so it's kind of a big day. Plus, March 24th is also the day the new 22 album comes out. There's a couple other things that I've been crossing my mind as far as the DVDs go, but yeah, I may just do I'm just gonna grab a stack of them and show them. Or I also thought I may do just a video, just sort of, here's 10 of my favorite movies, here's 10 of my favorite TV shows. I don't want to spoil that, but I guess I could, I don't know, I'll talk about them more. I guess I'll kind of just rattle off some names right now. So if I'm going with TV shows, number one, I kind of give there's a lot of them I love, but Deep Space Nine, Star Trek Deep Space Nine belongs as number one. It's sort of the most moving and important TV show anyway. But then I also kind of put in the same category all-time favorites as Cheers, Beavis and Butthead, and the fourth show there's another one that I'm not even remember at the moment, because I love Gilmore Girls and Psych, but I've always kind of seen them slightly below that. But yeah, I guess then those are my three sort of all-time favorites. But I must be forgetting one. That's why I need to do a separate video. And then as far as movies, I mentioned Ghost World and The Wizard of Oz. You know, I have a lot of other favorites like Caddyshack and comedies I love. Any of the Fletch, any of the good Chevy Chase movies, The Untouchables, Better Off Dead, stuff from the 80s especially I have a fondness for. Stuff like Casablanca, and I have a lot of them on DVD, and a lot of them I do not have on DVD. So that's why I'm going to sort of have to wing it, or I'm not sure. The last 15 years, a movie like Alpha Dog was one of them, but the one I was thinking of is Schenectady, New York, the Philip Seymour Hoffman, Charlie Kaufman movie. That's probably my favorite movie of the last 10 years. Although there's some other one, like Never Been Thought I mentioned. There's a couple others that would probably be in that category. Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. What else would be in that category? I love The Science of Sleep, The Jacket. There's some others. I mean, especially small independent films, but I'm not sure if anything really touches Schenectady. That's the most unique movie I've seen over the last decade. But I have a lot of the DVDs I'll show and maybe elaborate a little bit more on why those movies are among my favorites. So this is sort of, I guess, a quasi intro with dark picture in my car style attempt experiment that I may never do again, or I may continue to try to do if it has any response. It's more like you're listening to me talk rather than, it's like a podcast basically, as opposed to an actual thing to watch. My apologies, but I just was trying this as an experiment, and I'm not even sure I'm going to end up sharing this, but if it does, then obviously you'll be watching this and listening to me babble on. So thanks for watching. Please comment, like, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.